Welcome to Navigating Realities, where dialogue meets understanding, where we discuss 3 specific topics that we're told not to discuss: race, religion, and politics. So I'm here with a good friend that I met many years ago, Racquel Williams. When she started talking, you may recognize her voice from Bridging Philly. One of the things I love about listening to Bridging Philly when I'm driving in KYW is just you have such a soothing voice and really calms. Even the stories that you talk about and that you report on, you do it in a way that's just really comforting.
Thank you.
We met many years ago when you was actually, your journalism was helping me figure out a new kind of church concept, and you helped me filter that out, some of the things that I was thinking, and you wrote some stuff for me and really helped me flesh out my ideas. So your talents and skills and gifts way back when was definitely on display, helping me. So welcome to Navigating Realities.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Good. So let's start a little bit about where you're from, where'd you grow up, your childhood, your family.
I grew up in Hackensack, New Jersey, in North Jersey.
Hackensack?
Hackensack.
Wow,
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Wow. Yeah. Born and raised.
Really? When you grew up in your house, was topics like race, religion, and politics discussed in your home?
Oh my goodness, race, religion, and politics were discussed in my home, and those were some topics that were actually welcomed at the dinner table.
Really?
When you're not supposed to have them at the dinner table. My parents immigrated from Jamaica, and it was always instilled in me from a very young age that I would be looked at different. It was instilled in me from a very young age that I had to be twice as better. If whatever you're going to do, you have to do it to the fullest, and you have to do it twice as better than everyone else. And my parents really drove home the fact that you're going to be looked at because of your race. You're going to be judged by that. You're going to be judged because of your gender. You're a black woman. And they may even judge you because you are heavier, you have a little bit more weight on you. So all of these things, people are going to have opinions about you and may judge you in a certain way. And you can't do anything about the way people perceive you, but you can show them who you are. You can show them, and you have to be twice as better. And that was really drilled into my head, and I was prepared for some of the things that I did experience early in my career, race-wise.
Wow. How did that impact you, like your self-esteem? Like, tell me a little bit about that, because I know in many cultures, and particularly our culture, they're taught that. It does weigh on us in some ways in terms of like knowing that people are looking at us differently. I remember Dr. King talking about that when he realized that, this inferiority that we're looked upon. Did that affect you in any way?
It affected me when I entered the work world. And I really didn't want to be judged. There were murmurings everywhere I went in the beginning of diversity hire, or what was it called back then? not DEI back then. Affirmative action. To the point where I hated the words affirmative action. I used to say, I want to be judged on my own merit and my experience and my abilities. I am not a diversity hire. I am not hired because you needed to check a box. And I would doubt myself a lot. I'm like, was I hired for that reason? And over time, of course, I realized that that's not the case, because I just had to continue to prove myself. Actually, there was one person that I worked for, and I didn't realize that he was judging me in this way, but toward the end of my tenure there when I was leaving, I was told, he was telling the guys that I only hired her because she sounded white. She sounds white. That's the only reason why I hired her.
Wow. Really?
So I'm there 10 years because I sound white? No, I think I'm there 10 years because of my skills and my ability. He was an individual that used to call me into his office and go, I can't believe how quickly you're picking this up. I can't believe how well you're doing with this. Why can't you believe that?
Yeah, you're so well spoken.
You're so well spoken. Really? Okay. I went through a lot of that early in my career. And one story that I like to tell people, my first job, my first interview. Everything was by phone back in the day. You send your tapes in, you're talking on the phone. Tapes, I know, cassettes and whatnot. And I had my first interview. It was at a radio station in Sussex County, WSUS. And the news director, I remember sitting on the couch. I had my suit on for my first radio interview right out of college, about a year after college. I had my little briefcase, checked in with the receptionist. And I sat there, nervous, but I'm ready. And this gentleman walks out in a suit, looks at me, nods his head, goes right to the receptionist and said, "I thought you said Racquel was here." She said, "You just saw her." I mean, she was a very brash receptionist. "You just saw her. She's right there." He turned all the colors, and I didn't make it a thing. I just said, "Nice to meet you." And of course, I did get the job, and I had to prove myself constantly. So that has been what I deal with until, now settling here 30 something years later, things are a little bit better, but I don't have to prove as much. Like, I've done all that already. You already know. But it's interesting, being in a white male dominated industry, having to make sure that judge me on what I'm doing. Don't assume that I'm here because a box had to be checked. Yeah.
Was there an incident in your life that led you to storytelling, that got you involved? Like, how did you get down this path of journalism and storytelling?
I can tell you that this picked me. I didn't pick it. No. I had a fascination early on with both radio and journalism. I mean, I'm talking about when I was little, and asking my mom, how do they put the little people in the box? How are they speaking to us? How do they shrink them down? I was so fascinated with that. And I also used to pretend to read the news out of the newspaper. Like most other kids are doing whatever they're doing, and I'm like, the news today is, and I'm reading out of the newspaper because I was fascinated by that. And, I was fascinated with Barbara Walters, and I was fascinated with, of course, Oprah, and I was voted to be the next, future Oprah and all that stuff. It kind of just chose me. And in terms of being a community impact reporter, which is what I do at KYW, and I've always done community programs and shows like with Bridging Philly, it kind of just fits my personality. I couldn't be the breaking news reporter that's out there chasing stories after someone's shot or there's an accident or something happened. That's just not my personality. I don't like to run up to people in the midst of crazy and ask them what's happening, because I just this is too much. But I am the after effect. I'm the aftermath person. A week later, going into the community and finding out how this affected you all. Yeah. Because I love the art of the conversation. I think you do too. To just sit down and peel back the layers and really find out what's happening and how it's affecting people. Long after the cameras go, long after everything is cleaned up and we already things are going in the courts and people are on to the next thing. Families are suffering. Yeah. Families are torn apart. If a child is lost in a violent crime, parents are not working. Right. Everything stops. I mean, we're going about our lives and we think that's a shame, but these lives right here are so deeply impacted. They need help. They need assistance. Things are just different. And then you think of them during the holidays and, all these recent incidents that we've been hearing about, especially involving young girls, have just been heartbreaking. So I like to peel back the layers to get to the root of your question, and I like to sit and talk with people and really take time and find out how things are affecting them and why they're affecting them.
Well, let's talk about how it affects you. I mean, you covered, over your career, you covered a lot of stories in communities of color, and you mentioned the recent one, which we know was just a devastating situation. How does covering communities of color impact how you view journalism, how you see journalism, and your role in it?
I can tell you it's changed my perspective in terms of, being on the outside, looking in, wondering why certain stories are not covered the way they should be, or how certain things don't seem to be as played up as others. And then it's not until you get in and then you realize, okay, I understand what's happening here. I think that, telling the stories accurately is important. I think that, going through some of the things that I've gone through, and covering these same communities, like we have a lot of things in common. I have in common the people that I'm covering. I get where they're from.
Yeah.
And, I think, having some of the same lived experiences as the people that I'm covering, that kind of helps as well.
Yeah, does it affect you in a way where you're just trying to cover the story, but emotionally you get caught in it? And I don't want to do the disservice of this tragic story in Philadelphia with Kata Scott, but I want to say her name because she's just a beautiful young lady that was unfortunately. And you're a female, and I have a daughter just a little older than her. That affected me emotionally. Just, it was a national story. Tell me a little about what you were dealing with, covering that story, researching that story, and what it felt like for you.
Just following the story, because I know I'll probably be in the community. I'll probably be in contact with people who knew her to kind of get that after effect. The holidays are coming. There's going to be that empty chair at the table. You can just go on and on. So as I'm preparing, I'm trying to figure out how to best approach this. Because I'm not a mic in the face. Let's talk real quick. I want to make sure that people who are affected by it actually want to talk about it. Whether or not I'll talk to the mother or the parents, it really depends on, and right now they're all about, please respect our privacy, and I'm hands off. No problem there. But will there be a point where the mom would want to say something and talk to parents, talk to their children, just to warn them about certain things? What these particular incidents have brought to light to me, in speaking with my 19-year-old daughter who's in college, is a certain situation where girls are online and they are very trusting of young men. And I want to kind of explore that. What is happening with these online relationships? What is happening with girls maybe having accounts where they're open to going on dates with gentlemen or whatever? There is something there that's being normalized that shouldn't be. And I'm not saying that's the case with this case at all. It's just something that my daughter has been telling me. And I'm very disturbed by that. I'm like, you can't really be that trusting. I have to tell, I'm constantly on her, please don't be so trusting. Please don't be so trusting. But with the social media and everybody showing their representative, you don't really know who you're getting to meet. It's scary. And I think every time mothers, and I'm a mother, I have 2 girls actually, I think it's hard not to take those stories in. It really is. So when I cover them from the standpoint of, okay, I'm a mom, I have young girls, and what can be in this story that can help mothers talk to their daughters. So that's something that I'm working on, actually, to have the broader conversation in terms of how do we talk to our young girls about their work.
Do you think the social media aspect of it, help, causes the young people to be more trusting? Because when we were growing up, you had to meet a person, talk to them face to face, and now social media is through online stuff, and you don't get that body language, and you don't see, this person may be a little bit off. And so the first time you're meeting this person, you've had this relationship already, and then you meet this person, you have let your guard down. I don't want to be projecting here, but it seems like our young people let their guard down a little bit too trusting. I don't know.
That's what I'd like to explore. This is something that we didn't deal with. Our parents didn't deal with. So this is new to us. It's scary. I follow my daughter on one social media platform. I know she has others, but we only follow each other on one. And I'm constantly in her ear about not being so trusting, and who are you going to go meet, and why are you going to meet him? Why doesn't he come to you? Don't do that, because he has a whole advantage where he is. You're not familiar with that area. So, and I get like, mom, I get a lot of that, but mom has been there. Social media, yes, it just makes it too convenient, and yes, I think people are a little bit too trusting of the representative that they see. Everything is shiny and cute, and we don't post bad pictures of ourselves, and we don't post bad stories of ourselves. We only post the good stuff. So that's what you're going to see.
Yeah.
And in general, people show you what they want you to see anyway. So that's it.
You've covered and you've been in these communities. What would you say to a young person who's starting to cover these issues of race and equality? In today's society, what advice would you give them around these issues? Because, we hear, I don't call them code words in the media, well-spoken. Like, what are some of these things that you would give a young person who's going to be covering these issues of race in the communities of color to look out for?
To look out for? What should you look out for? Well, a young person that wants to tell true stories about what's going on in the communities, but you want to be careful of how you tell the stories, right? Two pieces of advice, really, from two different standpoints. Stay curious, ask a lot of questions, and you can bring your own experiences into it, because we all have different perspectives. And I'm not talking just to a young Black future reporter. I'm talking about a future reporter of any color. If you're going to cover race, you bring your experience and be open to learning about other people's experiences. And there are some catchwords, and there are some things to stay away from. What I think is important, and I know that they've been doing this with a lot of cases, is not to delve too much into the private lives of the victim. Why do we need to know, who she was dating and how long they dated that person, and what she was doing on this account and that account? None of that has anything to do with the fact that this person is no longer here.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think, as far as some of the things that happen with us, as far as when we're covered, I don't like to see young women or young men, even children, reported on as though they're adults.
Yeah.
These are children. And sometimes I have to look up and I go, that was a child they were describing? That's a baby. This is not a young man. This is not a young woman. These are babies. So that, I notice, happens with kids of color. All of a sudden they're talked about as though they're adults, and that bothers me. So I make sure I don't do that. And so this is one of the points, there's little catchwords, thugs, a lot of words are used that we know what they really mean. And not victimizing, not victimizing the victim. What am I trying to say? Not blaming the victim, not victim blaming, and not misrepresenting them in any way.
Let's pivot to religion again. Like, how do you see faith institutions or religion itself being a bridge, no pun intended, to community issues in our that affect us today? Do you see that, or you've covered stories of faith institutions that had impacts in communities, whether churches, mosques, synagogues, temples. But there are aspects of, organized religions. We've seen the numbers are dropping dramatically in attendance. So tell me a little bit about your experience covering faith institutions.
It's funny you mentioned the fact that church, the numbers are dropping. I do want to do a show on religion in America. That's something that I've been wanting to do for a couple of years, have someone from different sects of faith to come in and discuss things. I think in small communities, I'm going to look at this small, and then I'm going to kind of broaden it out. Within small communities, I think faith-based community organizations or churches or mosques or what have you, I think they're important. I think they can be a bridge because most of these small community or faith organizations or churches or what have you, they're welcoming. They want you to come in and learn about them. They want you to come in and experience. And so I personally love exploring and learning about how other people live. What do you eat? What do you do during the holidays? And what are your traditions? And how do you worship? And where did that come from? And I'm interested. I'm genuinely interested in how other people worship and how other people live. Now, on the community, small aspect, it can be a bridge. Now, let's widen it out and let's go to the extreme. Let's go to the mega extreme organizations that are either far right, far left, wherever far you're talking about. Now we have a problem because now there are views that may not be all too inclusive. We don't welcome you. You don't belong here. You shouldn't be that way. You transitioned. You shouldn't even be here. Your color is less than me. And that's a problem. So, and then you have the violent extremists where I'm doing this in the name of my creator. I'm going to kill you. So yes, I think on the community aspect, it is a bridge. But when you're talking about the extremists, then, it could be problems, and especially in the internet, when people get recruited into different things, and then they're doing things for the wrong reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it. I mean, it's nothing. I think our country is going through that right now. You have an extreme sector of, white nationalism that has influenced Christianity, evangelicalism, that really that is an exclusive isolation type of religion, a bent to it, and not all, but you see that where it is this exclusivity that causes really segregation and hate. So you've covered this for so many years, Racquel, about faith institutions, and I'm wondering, you said on a small scale is they're helping. On a larger scale, that is hate being, spewed out into our society. What would you say about the state of religious institutions now, and how can they help opposed to hinder supposedly a nation that has freedom of religion? But freedom means different things for different religions and different people.
Right.
How could, in all your years of experience, how can we bring this together in terms of religious communities really being a real bridge on a larger scale? You see that possible there?
Yeah, I think it's important for faith leaders to come from behind the pulpit and meet people where they are in the community. And they all need to do that. We need to see rabbis in the community, hands-on and helping. We need to see priests. We need to see imams. We need to see everyone in the community. I think taking your message from inside your church and bringing it out to the masses, saying it's not just my congregation, I want to help my community. I think if we see more of that, and then cohesively working together, I think there are certain things that kind of bond us all together. We all want to be healthy. We all want to have safe communities. We all want to have access to certain things, and those are the things that, bond us together. Those are the things that we have in common. So why not work together for the common good? You know what I mean? I think if there's a more come from behind, get out in the communities, and I see some of that happening, but if it's done on a broader basis, on a broader level, I should say, that could be a large bridge.
Why do you think there's an exodus from organized religion, and what do you think is happening? I know the new pope is trying to really engage in this space of attracting Catholics back to the church and having a more broader message. I think I don't know if it has anything to do with he's from America, because there are one pundit said that we'll never have an American pope, but we do have today. Why do you see there, particularly among young people, are moving away from organized religion? What do you think is happening?
That is a question that I would like to explore myself, I have to say. I grew up in organized religion, and I kind of fell away from it. Did I fall away from my relationship with my creator? And no, I haven't. But it's interesting to see the numbers have fallen the way they have, and I don't have an answer. I don't. I just know that sometimes when you see, and you go from church to church to church, and you're looking for certain things, and then you see how people live their lives, and you see the message that they push, and sometimes it doesn't align. I'm just going to put it that way. And then you're going, that's interesting. And you kind of just fall away and do something else. People call it church hurt. You've had church hurt or whatever it is. You can heal from that, whatever. And sometimes it's just like, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay praying in the whole thing, and watching and praying and instilling the same values in my children. And if they choose that they would like to go to church on Sunday or Saturday or whatever they'd like to do, that's up to them. But that's definitely something that I would like to explore as well. Good question.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on a New Jersey Coalition of Religious Leaders, and it's an encompass of all faiths. And I think this is where interfaith discussion, interfaith dialogue needs to be more out front, and really discuss. I have a pastor, an imam, a rabbi, a Buddhist teacher, and people look at me like I'm weird. Like, I love all the traditional faith. Like, if the concept of God is a segregationist, then how can that concept of God be real, right? Like, so if I tell someone because of what they believe is that they're not going to be closer to God, then it's like weird. Like, who has a monopoly on God? Exactly. And if any religion says that they have a monopoly on God, then that's not a real religion, right?
Turn away.
Right? Because there's none of the traditional faiths, that I've studied. They all want to bring people in and teach about love, peace, joy, and harmony. But yet we have this dysfunction because people do things in the name of religion. And it's really their personal ambitions, their personal goals. Religious wars are not really about religion. It's about land occupation and power and money. Yes. Calling the other is for to build power for yourself. So I don't want to get on a pulpit myself, but I hear, I'm around people in the circles who are inclusive, and I think, do you think more interfaith dialogue will help lead this space?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Like I said, when you look at all of us and you look at all the faiths, there's a lot more there that binds us together that doesn't.
Yeah.
So I really think that having more of those conversations, and that's the conversations, let's have them. What is the problem with sitting down with someone who doesn't see things the way that you do and just having a conversation? Now, of course, you could bring up the Charlie Kirk thing, right? Because that's what he did. I dance on absolutely no one's grave. But I did like the fact that he would go into spaces where he's not welcome and just say, prove me wrong. And my hope was that somebody prove him wrong. Keep proving him wrong. That's what you do. You fight fire with fire. You don't bring a cannon and come on. We have to have the conversations. So getting comfortable with being uncomfortable is important, because that's the only way you're going to get to like a place of healing and a place of comfort and understanding. We have to be more tolerant of each other and stop saying that you don't do this, so you're not welcome here, or you only do this and you're not welcome here. There's no growth there. There's no growth, and there's no respect.
You talk about being comfortable, and this is totally off topic because I talk about this all the time. With the moment when you start to feel free, and this is Baldwinism, is when you're comfortable being yourself, being a contradiction. And this is where I think we struggle, because we are both this and that, and we don't talk about that enough. We are both this and that. One day I can be an asshole. One day I can be a loving person.
Okay.
That's part of being human. And so when you face the truth about who you are, of being a human being, and that comes with contradictions, then you can confront who you really are. Too many of us don't want to confront who we are because we're afraid to confront who we are, because it's so much easier to point the finger to other people.
So true.
Instead of saying, yes, there are days that I don't feel as nice. There are days I don't feel like being, saying the political correct thing. There are days when I say, motherfucker, I want to call you a motherfucker, right? But this is like, Racquel. And so people call, Reverend Dobson, I was like, Yeah, I love bourbon, I love scotch, I love smoking my cigars, and every now and then I'll use a word or two that I'm comfortable with. I'm a grown-ass man. I got 3 grandkids. I can say what I want to say. If you don't like it, don't listen.
And there are a couple of people that will hear that, will clutch the pearls.
Yes.
And say, Reverend Dobson, how could you say such things?
But yet in their own isolation, they're the exact same way.
Come on. Exactly.
And so that comfortable being, and this was Baldwin. Baldwin just was brilliant at being a truth teller about, not about everybody else, but about himself. So being a truth teller is really being truthful about who you are and embracing that. Yeah, we are a contradiction.
This is true.
And so until the freedom in that is saying, yes, I'm okay knowing that I'm going to have some good days, I'm going to have some bad days.
Yeah.
But that doesn't define who I am, my bad days.
Right. That is so true.
You know?
You're completely right. And you know, that though comes with that wisdom. That's wisdom all up in there. What you're doing, what you're saying, and what you're experiencing. And that doesn't come, you know, when you're 20 or 30. That comes with age.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's the experience, and you get a certain age where we are, and you're like, yeah, this is who I am. If you don't like it, okay, well, so what? Yes, I'm a pastor and I cuss a little bit. So what? People are going to judge anyway. You know, I'm reading a book, the book that I'm reading, and I was never into self-help books, just not my thing. But I was at the women's conference for Pennsylvania, and Mel Robbins spoke, and she has a book called Let Them. And she was talking about it, and I'm sitting there going, I need this book. So I'm halfway through the book, and it's really talking about how, listen, people, no matter what you do, people are going to judge you. The people closest to you, the very closest to you, they're going to have opinions, and they might not be opinions you want to hear. They're going to judge you. You have no control over it.
Let it go. Yeah.
Let them. It's your reaction, and it's what you do. You can control how you react to their judgment. Or just let them go ahead and judge, because you're going to. Listen, all that energy, I need this because I'm one of those people pleasers. Is he okay? Is she okay? Is she bothered by what I did? Did I wear the right thing? Is that going to offend her? I'm trying to stop that because what am I doing all that for? Yeah, she might have something to say. She might not like my shoes. She might not like what I wore to the so-and-so. She might not like what I said at the so-and-so. Let her. Let them.
Yeah.
So what?
I mean, I think Western society forces us to be that way, and that's why you have to retrain your mind about these things. Like I say all the time, and I could be wrong, but I doubt it. As Charles Barkley say, I might be wrong, but I doubt it. But I think part of our struggle, and as Baldwin talks about this, is we're so guilt-ridden. And I think guilt is a taught emotion. I don't think it's natural.
No?
Oh, I think it's taught, because when you think about, you know, when we're growing up and when we're instilling in our kids the things that we've been taught.
Right.
And so feeling guilty is something that's taught, opposed to making a mistake and say, oh, I messed up, I made a mistake. We carry so much guilt, probably from religion, and that it really shackles us from really showing truthfully who we are. And that's what Baldwin just broke away from it. Like, look, until you confront, he says, one of my favorite quotes is, you have to decide who you are and force the world to deal with you, not its idea of you. That's powerful.
Yes.
Right?
That is true. I like that. Wow. You know, because I'm, you know, this whole self-discovery and coming to my own, this is happening in real time, honestly. And part of it comes from, you know, my recent, I'm a 2-time breast cancer survivor, as you know. And the last bout was just about a year and a half ago. I completed chemo and everything. And you kind of look at the world a little differently. You kind of look and see who showed up and who didn't. And I don't have to make an announcement. I just mental note, wow, okay, that's interesting. You know, when you're going through certain things, especially you're looking at something that could snatch your life away, you really look at the world differently. And yeah, I judge. I'm judging. And let me. It's okay. But
is it judging? Let me ask you this question.
Yes.
Is it judging or is it clarity? Because clarity is you know, clarity is a great thing. You are clear about who's going to be there for you, and those who are not, who you thought was who are not, you know who they are. You know it's about being clear about, okay, who can I depend on? Not judging them. You just have clarity. Again, this is Baldwin. You're clear about who's going to be there for you.
Yeah. I think, but then the disappointment comes in where you thought certain people are going to be there for you.
That's natural. Absolutely.
And then they're not.
Yeah, that's
And
absolutely.
so there's a clarity.
Yes, that's clarity.
Yeah.
It shows me, like I wrote something on Facebook the other day, Maya Angelou show, when people show you who you are, believe them. But I said, that's true, but it's also a snapshot of who they are at that moment, right? And so this is where, in my older years, I'm trying to be less judgmental for myself, and that allows me to be less judgmental towards people, because we judge ourselves ways too much. So I'm trying to get to the place where I'm getting clear about who I am and clear about who I can depend on, and the ones that I can't, I'm giving them grace, if that makes any sense.
I get that because, as you evolve and change and people see you a certain way, the change they don't like. People don't like when you change. They want the old you back. Like, what are you doing? That's not really you. Oh, yeah, actually it is. And so if you can't come along, it's okay. That's what I am learning, that it is okay. It is okay. As you start your journey, you have a whole busload of people.
Yeah.
And as you go, people get off at different stops. And they're not going to all be with you to your destination.
And that's
you might pick up some new people on the way.
You may pick up some new people. You may find a new perspective about human nature. And you may start to get a little comfortability about that.
Yeah.
And just say, I'm good. And then that's the thing, getting old is a motherfucker, let me tell you.
It's like
it is something that brings a lot of clarity. I like that word. And you, as a journalism, you spent a lot of your career covering, a lot around politics and politicians, and in this political climate, when people are voting, trying to get clear about who their candidate is. How have you seen covering politics over the years change?
I can give you an example of a specific issue that affects Black women being covered incessantly to the point where it has brought about change, and that is Black maternal health.
Yes.
Okay, this is something Black women specifically have been talking about, not being heard, not being understood, not being given the proper care because they don't, somehow we have these super bodies that don't feel pain and we can just withstand everything. She's fine. No, I'm not fine. This is happening and you need to pay attention to it. We're starting to be heard. There have been changes in Pennsylvania. You've got champions like Representative Regina Curry. In New Jersey, you've got Tammy Murphy, First Lady Tammy Murphy, who's a huge champion for women maternal health and bringing down that mortality rate. There's a lot going on in that space, and there's a lot of legislation, and it's because women are in these positions of power that are saying, this happened to me, this happened to my daughter, this happened to my sister. You need to pay attention to this. So yes, Black maternal health and women in general, when you're talking about having a baby, this is what sustains our planet, right? So we need to really pay attention to the issues when they arise in terms of a specific section of women. Like, why is this happening to them? And there are some changes that are happening, and I'm just happy that we're being heard, and we'll slowly start to see more and more changes, but there's definitely action being taken in that realm.
That's a powerful point.
Yeah.
When our government, when our elected officials hear us, there are policy implications. And there are changes for the better. What have you covered? You just told the story about Black maternal health, and you've seen many years of the impact of policy. You could talk a little bit about the impact of policy.
Well, what we do, the very basics of what we do as reporters is we just hold power to account. So in and of itself, when you continue to do that, and we are allowed to continue to do that, that's part of the checks and balances. That's when you can see change, because we, the people, have so much power. When we get behind things, and we can help force and lead change. But if we are being drowned out or turned away, or all of a sudden information can't flow the way it was flowing, then it's going to be harder to hold power to account, which is really what our jobs are.
Wow. So you've seen, I mean, this is amazing, because I think we don't talk enough about how journalism can change hearts. And it changed hearts to the point where it changed policy. Given the climate that we're in today, where the voices of journalism are being muted, you know, what are you feeling about that? Are we heading towards this cliff where there's a point of no return? But I'm hearing like positive stories like you're telling, and you tell them all the time on Bridge and Philly, that it's the negative bias. We're prone to hear the negative stuff and not hear the positive stuff. So how do you balance that?
Stories are stories. Not all stories are going to be, rosy and beautiful. And even from the negative stories, you can get those nuggets of wisdom, which ends up being positive. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much what I would say about that. I mean, as far as balancing the negative and the positive, I don't always want to do doom and gloom. I was never wanted to be the doom and gloom. Let's just talk about people being shot reporter. No, I know I'm community impact, and that's in a lot of the communities in Philadelphia. But as I first walked into Philly and covered some issue where the community was out and upset because of a shooting that took place at a rec center, and I'm walking around and I'm talking to the people about how it's affecting them. And this young girl, I will never forget her. I tell this story all the time. She said, "Y'all only come out here when bad things are happening. Why is that?" Wow. She checked. I was just like, okay. I said, well, I could tell you this. We have to be here to cover the story because it's important. But I know that there are positive stories in and around this area. So give me your information. I want to come out here and cover them. And I want to change that. This is what we want to do. This is actually why I was hired, to try to get those little nuggets, these little stories out in your community. So yes, when bad things happen, we're here. But when good things happen, we're going to be here too. And that kind of keeps me grounded in terms of what I'm going to cover. So that's why you might hear a lot of the good things, because I'm hearing her in my voice, in my head. But at the same time, there are serious things that we have to uncover. But Philly, South Jersey, that whole area, there are just so many wonderful, interesting stories and people, and just so much there to uncover other than the doom and the gloom.
Aren't people amazing? And that's the thing. I love listening to your show, because you learn so much, and we forget human beings are actually amazing.
Yeah, yes.
Pretty incredible, pretty diverse, diverse perspective, diverse colors, the diverse body shapes, the diverse personalities, diverse genders, sexualities, and that's what makes the world great.
Yeah.
Because it would be boring if we're always look the same, act the same, the exact same color, exact same texture. I was like, this is like,
some people want that.
Well, I mean, that's a boring world. But it's not. But it's not real, and that's what's like if. I would tell a white supremacist, okay, you can only eat, European food. So you can't eat any fried chicken, you can't eat any Spanish food, you can't eat any macaroni and cheese, you can't eat, if you were forced to only eat your ethnic food, you'd be miserable.
There you go.
Right? And so, why, if that's, tasting food is such a small thing, but if I could only eat just one ethnic food my whole entire life, I hate to say it, but that's a fucked up life.
It's without any kind of, there's no experience, there's no nothing, it's bland, it's boring.
Yeah. So why wouldn't I want to have a taste of and have a conversation with someone from a whole different ethnic culture, learn about their culture, and this is where, because when I went to Athens, Greece, and I was there, And for the moment, after a few days, my heart cried. And I cried. I said, this is why poverty shouldn't exist. Because everybody should be able to see what I'm seeing. America is just a baby. We're going to sell 250 years.
Yeah.
But these countries have been around for thousands of years. To see a structure that's over 2,000 years old,
Wow.
how many inner city kids get to see that?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, poverty shouldn't exist because everybody should have the right to see something that are thousands of years old.
Yeah.
To go to Egypt and touch the pyramids. To go to Athens and see the Parthenons and where Plato and study. To go to Puerto Rico and San Juan, old San Juan, and experience the culture and the food there. I mean, to go to London and Paris, to go to Portugal, to Lisbon,
Have you been? You're naming places that, first of all, Greece and Portugal are they're on my bucket list.
I didn't want to come home from
100%.
Greece, by the way. I didn't want to come back.
Wow.
I didn't. I was like,
I can't wait to go.
oh my God, it was
visit.
incredible.
Wow. But you talk about, all of these things that are on this planet, and we're here on this planet, so much to see and experience. This is particularly why I like organizations that help kids in inner city.
Yeah.
Pick them up, place them in Greece.
Yeah.
We're here for a week and we're doing XYZ. What? Some of these kids don't know outside of their block.
Yeah.
Their neighborhood, never left the city, never left the state. So when you expose kids, our kids just need exposure and access. That's it.
That's it.
Exposure and access. Let them go. Yeah.
My early years as a youth pastor, I took the inner city kids. I took them to Wildwood, and I'll never forget this story. This one girl walked on the beach and freaked out. She's like, "Oh my God, what is this? What is it? What is it? It's on my feet." I said, "It's sand." She had never experienced sand before, and it just
we take for
crushed
granted.
me.
Yeah,
I'm like,
she's
"Oh
just
my
never-
God!" But this is the point about navigating reality, where dialogue meets understanding, where race, religion, and politics come together and talk about things that we're not supposed to talk about, to bring about understanding, to tell stories like you tell every week that shapes our society. Since the beginning of time, the things that have gotten to where we are, every transformation in society, to culture, to civilization, has always come through stories. So you're a storyteller that changes the world every day. And I'm so grateful for you, grateful for the programs you run, grateful for your experience, what you cover. And we always ask this final question on Navigating Realities. What's your favorite quote and why?
You said my favorite quote, and it's Maya Angelou.
Really?
Yes, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time, even though you said it might be a snapshot of where they are at that particular point. That actually is my favorite quote because it's proven true. It just has proven true.
I know in my life, and whatever time I have left, that my goal is to bridge people together. That's my purpose for, human beings are here to connect,
Yeah.
not to segregate. And I think we've been taught this hate, this separation, this segregation, all to be exploited.
Okay.
It's about being exploited. We're in a capitalistic society. I mean, it's about exploitation. If we can divide the concept of race and ethnic groups and culture and assimilate people to being what I think capitalism wants us to be, is just consumers. That they don't want our personalities, they don't want our color, they don't want our sexuality.
No.
All that is to be exploited to make sure we're still buying, to consume. And
You have a point.
I want to be part of that story when you tell that story about religion. I want to hear it. I want to see it. I want to listen
Well,
to
you
it.
definitely have to be part of the story. That's the truth. You will just definitely get a call.
And many, many years ago, we met, and your personality, your persona is still the same. It's just a breath of fresh air and a light.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on Navigating
I
Our Realities
appreciate
with
it.
Dialogue Misunderstanding, my
Thank
sister.
you. Thank you for
Appreciate
what you do.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Well, that's a wrap. thank you for joining us today. Hopefully you enjoyed this program, and we'll look forward to you joining us again. And like I always say, as J. Cole said, if you didn't aim too high, then you aim too low. Hey, this is Reverend Eric Dobson, and this is Navigating Reality's podcast where dialogue meets understanding. Follow us and subscribe to us on YouTube, and you can find us on all streaming platforms.